Hi, I'm Pastor Charlie.
I'm Pastor Jay.
You've got questions?
And we've got answers.
You're getting good at that.
Practicing. Okay, today's question. What are the meanings of the various gestures that pastors use during a worship service? For example, you bow before the altar. Why? Sometimes you clasp your hands. Does that have a liturgical meaning? What about when you raise your arm?
Good questions. I remember when I first came to the Lutheran church, when I was in college, and the pastor at the church, we would gather around the altar for communion, and at the end of communion, each table, he would bless them, and sometimes he would bless us with 2 fingers, and other times he'd bless us with 4 fingers. And so one day I asked him, I said, Pastor Garrels, what's the difference between 2 fingers and 4 fingers? He said, 2 fingers. I said, yeah, that's a good answer. But started be asking those questions of why we do the hand gestures that we do. And I think they all have a reason for conveying the message more than just the words, but the message we're trying to get across, and also the reverence for the thing that we're trying to share. So, and some of those would be.
Yeah, right. So you probably see us hold our hands maybe behind the altar while we're praying. This is a really ancient pose for prayer that's called orans, and you'll see, both of us, and maybe even the assisting minister. Anybody can pray like this. It doesn't just have to be the pastor, but it's an old, very ancient way of praying, so we do that. You'll see us when we are giving a blessing, like after communion, or the benediction at the end. This is us conveying a blessing on behalf of the church as your pastor, so that when you see that, you know that the blessing is coming from the church itself.
We also pray over at communion. We ask God's presence to come, and so often we'll put our hands above that. It's conveying that, asking God's Spirit to come on that, to share where that's coming. And also, even to the congregation, sometimes we'll address that in that direction as well. Making the sign of the cross, remembering why we gather, and so Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, that reminds us of that.
Sometimes when we sing Holy, Holy, Holy during the Eucharistic rite, you'll see us bowing before the altar. That's reminiscent of Old Testament texts, where you're bowing before the presence of God.
Yep.
And that's what's happening. You might see us do that after we during the words of institution, after we elevate the bread and the wine, and that's to show what is holy. That is to show that Christ is present in this meal. So, it's not what we do that makes it holy, but what we're doing is trying to show what is holy and sacred and most important to us in the moment.
Right. And I think there's things that we can do as far as worshipers, too, to have motions as well. And that also happens quite often by standing. We show reverence. By kneeling, we come to prayer. Often when we say, "The Lord be with you," many people in the congregation will also give that greeting back to us, and so bow to us. Also, several people will turn when the cross enters and bow to the cross when that comes in, showing reverence to that. So I think it's
following the cross in and out of worship. Yeah,
so I think all those things help us to focus on what is important and conveying that message more than just words. Yes.
And there's some very important hand gestures if you're from the state of Ohio that you would need to know as well. Mrs. Lane?
OHIO